Welcome back, everyone, to the Punk Rock Horror Podcast. I'm Matt, and today we have a very special bonus episode for all of you ghouls, gals, creeps, and mutants across the land and seas everywhere in the world. We are joined by the amazing, beautiful mind of Ryan L. Terry, who did the movie Friedberry. Well, welcome, Ryan. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Cool, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's really exciting having you come on. It's been kind of touch and go for getting a lot of guests on the show recently, mostly just because of of the pandemic and that what happened with there and all that. But it's great to have you on. Friedberry is a very fantastic movie. I've checked it out on my end, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly. But let's just jump into it. Let's jump into the meat. What is Friedberry, and how did it come to be?
Cool, man. Yeah, so basically in 2017, I shot a short film, also called Fry Barry. But that experimental film was it was a 3 minute experimental film about a guy that was a drug addict, a heroin addict that was in an abandoned building. And it was his highs and lows, fast editing, crazy music, and just, you know, it was almost like a drug PSA, like don't do drugs, and it was just this 3 minute crazy trip, and that's it. That's it was never designed, to become a feature film because there's basically no narrative within the short. Um, you know, when I came to have the idea of the feature, obviously I had to expand it a lot. But from when I made the short, I took that to like a lot of film festivals. So we had about 59, I think it's like 59, 60 official selections around the world. And we picked up about 13 awards. And then what happened shortly after that, when I was hitting all these different places, we started to get all this crazy random fan art from like around the world. And and then I kind of knew that I was onto something with this project. But again, there was no plan, to do a feature. So as time went on, you see, normally I normally direct music videos. So I do short films, commercials, but I'm known as a music video director for narrative storytelling within a music video. So when I'm shooting music videos, I'm very lucky as a director to do my own concepts for these bands, but at the same time, I'm kind of still in a box because it has to get on TV and it has to fit with the band's audience and fans and stuff like that. So I'm kind of still in a box, even though I can do what I want, I can't go too crazy. So when I shot the short Fried Barry, that was one of the first of many experimental films that I wanted to shoot, where I didn't have to worry about clients, will it go on TV? I could just do what I want. So that time in my career before when I made the feature film, I just got to a point in my career where I've always wanted to make a feature. I've come close so many times, and then it doesn't happen. And when I got this idea, straight away I knew this is the idea. This is what I'm going to do. And I wrote a scene breakdown in 3 days of about 50% of the. It was a very brief scene breakdown. It was like Barry goes here, Barry goes there, and with that, it was basically, a few days after I got that idea, I rang my producer and I said, I want to make this film and I want to make it next month. And he's like, well, have you got a script? And I was like, no, I have to shoot it a certain way. And he was like, well, why do you want to shoot it next month? And I was like, because if we don't shoot it next month, it ain't never going to happen. It's just going to get pushed along, postponed. And, I had to shoot it the way I wanted to shoot it because my lead actor is not a trained actor. His background is like doing extra work. So, and I've worked with Gary Green for about 10, 11 years now, and he's been extra in a lot of my music videos, and he's got a featured part and so on and so on, and his parts have just grown as time's gone along. But because I had to broaden the story from the shorts, and I have to have Gary. And when I got that idea, it was such a certain design of idea that it would only work if Gary was going to be the lead in it, to build it around him to make it work and to work with him very closely to get exactly what I wanted. So everything just had to fall into place, you know, you know, for Gary to play the character. So for me to direct it a certain way, for me to to have that creativity and that organic process of while we were shooting because there was no script. I only wrote 6 pieces of dialogue for 6 actors through the whole film. All the rest were like scene breakdowns, and then I came up with ideas um, on the day of shooting. So the whole film was basically improvised, apart from the dialogue and some of the stuff that I've written. But like 95% of it was improvised on the day, and working with the actors and working with Gary to get exactly you know things to come across, and just to be in that moment. So I didn't. The good thing that there was no script, it gave us that freedom to do whatever we wanted, and any ideas that sparked up at the time to just do it. And I also needed that for Gary, so he wouldn't overthink stuff, and he would be in the moment, so he wouldn't be thinking about what the scene's about and what he has to do. So to be in that moment with my actors, and especially with Gary, is to have that control, to have that clean slate, that blank page every single day.
And Gary Green playing the role as Barry does a really fantastic job of just bringing Fried Barry, to life on the screen. And there's a lot to unpack there as well, and we're gonna try to get to all of it because there's just so many cool stuff that you said there. I mean, one, it's starting off it also is just as a small short film, and then it becoming this huge thing. I mean, that type of momentum, that type of kind of surprise of, hey, this small movie you did, let's make it a feature length, let's do that, let's make it a huge thing. I could see that could kind of be very, not only just exciting but also maybe even a little overwhelming. Was it kind of overwhelming trying to go from a short film to a feature length? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit.
Well, it was just one of those things where, for the longest time now, I feel that I've been ready to make a feature, and I think it's every director's dream if you want to make features, is to obviously to make that feature. So, and it's not an easy thing to do. You know what I mean? It's like nobody's going to hire you as a director to direct a feature film unless you've got one already. So it's just like how do I get one if I'm not going to do one, and goes like that. So at the end of the day, I kind of knew the answer all along, that I just had to do it. I just had to do it myself. So I made it instead of waiting for people the whole time. I just made it happen myself. So while we were shooting, the first day of shooting, we were like, shit, dude, we're making a movie. And then I was like halfway through, like, shit, we've shot half a movie, and then like it's like the end day, you know, shit, we've shot a whole movie, and then after that we jumped to being in San Jose at CineQuest having the film premiere. So it was the turnover happened quite quickly, from because there was no major prod, but at the same time it took us a year and a half to actually shoot the movie.
So it's just really great to hear about this because it's just like when we again coming back to just really quick our show, we make it a point to bring a light to directors and films that do not get a lot of attention but are great and deserve that attention. And Fried Berry is a movie that's still very new, and it's definitely one that not a lot of people are still hearing about, and that's why we're glad to have this interview and get this promotion out there. But I mean, you guys have already won a lot of awards for this film. I mean, you won an international competition winner from Fantasopa International Fantastic Films Festival for Best Actor for Gary Green, and even Rapid Lion Film Festival for the International Film Festival. You got Best Cinematography, just as another one to kind of like throw out there. And I just want to mention that one too, just because the cinematography in your film is also very, very shocking in the best way possible because it's very great at just kind of, I mean, because again, the premise is a drug-addled person by named Barry who gets his body taken over by an alien. I mean, it would have to be a little bit more kind of like a raw type of cinematography for it. So I'm really glad you guys
Yeah,
got an award for that. Bravo, congratulations.
yeah, yeah. Gareth, my DP was Gareth Flake, and he was yeah, he did a terrific job. He did a great job. But the whole team, everybody, it was one of those where it's like the music. The music was by Hazer, and he's also amazing. The music that he brought to the film, and it's such a big part of the movie. So it's all those things that if you have one good thing and you have another good thing and you have another good thing, then it just builds this whole thing around the movie that just makes everything better and complements one thing to the next thing.
Well, more people just need to be talking about your movie in general, and I'm not just saying that just because you came on the show either. The Fried Berry is definitely what, like this, in my opinion, a very like neon action-filled horror flick that the They Live would be proud to see, be a thing. It's just this really cool kind of like idea of a horror film that seems so basic when you read it, but it's so unique on its own of just again, aliens coming down. I mean, where did you get the inspiration, I guess? That would be my question. Where did you get the inspiration for aliens to be the main influence of this movie and not it be ghosts or demons or, a cult who uses Barry's body to be possessed?
Mm. I think it was just one of those things where it was from going from the short where it was just a drug addict, and then thinking how would I make this into a feature and to have my stamp on it, that it's that it's wacky and it's crazy. And my biggest influences are like 80s movies. So I've got like a lot of John Carpenter and David Cronenberg, and or whether it's Spielberg or David Lynch. There's all those. There's so many like 80s like references. In the movie itself. So I mean, there was stuff like there was like John Carpenter's Starman. So that was like an early 80s movie, and there was that story, and mashing it with a film like in the early 90s, like Bad Boy Bubby from Australia. So it was mashing all these types of stories or characters together, and and then making my own and making it a drug addict. And I mean, who doesn't want to see a heroin addict that gets abducted by aliens? I mean, we've seen that before. So it's it's also for me. It's just like when you come up with an idea, because to be honest, it's a simple idea, and the thing is, it's one of those things where it's how you tell it, how you tell the story, but it's also when people come out with an idea, you should be able to tell your idea and sell your idea in a sentence or two. So the story is about a heroin addict that gets abducted by aliens, and it's basically an alien tourist on holiday. That's it. That's the movie, and we go on this journey with Barry through the streets of Cape Town as this alien tourist, meeting all these people. And that's why I always say to people, it's like a road movie without the car, but Barry is the car. And he's meeting all these people, and then he's moving on to the next stage, and so on and so on.
That I like that you say if you could sell it in just a few sentences, just a few words, that it worth its own weight. And yeah, I mean, again reading that description, basically Barry being used as a car by an alien. I mean, come on, how can you not kind of like get intrigued by that, even just that little statement alone? So was this always the intention to go this route with the film then? Was to let it be, an alien possessing overall, or was it, or did you have different ideas for it to begin with? And did you always plan to go and make your future feature film a horror film to begin with?
Not really. No, it's one of those things where you see, it's like, I mean, you can look at the film and say, is Fry Barry just a horror? And it's not. It's got elements of horror. It has elements of sci-fi. There's a shitload of comedy and dark humor in it. And it's one of those types of films you either love it or you hate it. The people that will love it will really love it. The people that will hate it will just get rubbed the wrong way, and they'll be like, no, no, this film's bad. But they'll end up speaking about it because there's a lot to talk about, even if you don't like it. You know. So I think all along that I knew what I wanted to do and I knew the style that I wanted to do it in, and I was aiming for that, like, that underground cult style movie, and uh, and the nice thing is that I think I've achieved that, and the people that's reviewed it, and people saying, "Oh, this is definitely going to be like a cult film," and then some people saying, "Oh, this is definitely like a cult classic," and I'm like, "Well, that's pretty cool." So it's like for what it's designed to be, how it was made, how it was edited, it's designed in a certain way to do that. I mean, you get people that look at certain directors and say like, oh, okay, he's good at that, but maybe he won't be good at doing another type of film. And that's the thing is like I do like all genres, and I like crazy, wacky, concepts and stuff like that. I love like like I mentioned, the David Cronenberg, the John Carpenter movies and stuff like that. So everything about Fry Barry was designed a certain way for it to be the way it is. So if I shot a different film, I would still have my stamp on it, but it would be also different because, as I said, the film is designed the way it's meant to be, and meant, how it's cut, and the feel and the tone of the movie. That's it's all designed to be the way it is.
Well, it's great to hear you talk about how you wanted it to be and the creation for it and how it's designed. It really is because it's just one of these moments where we have a really great movie like Friedberry, and it's not often that we get to talk to the people behind it in any sort of facet and get to talk about the creative process. So it's just really surreal and yet really great to just hear you talk about it. Where can everybody go to check out Friedberry and look it up?
Well, right now it's going to be playing in. I think it's next. I think it's probably next week. It's starting at Fantasia in Canada. So that festival is going to be online this year, and yeah, and then it's hidden in the UK at Grimfest. I think it's September, October. So yeah, we're busy hitting. There's a hell of a lot more festivals, but I think if you go to Instagram, type in Fry Barry or type in Ryan Kruger, you can find my platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So yeah, either Ryan Kruger or Fry Barry, and you can check out all the information there, or frybarry.com, and we'll have all the information on there so you can watch it. So at the moment now, because of this whole pandemic, the cool thing about it is that a lot of these festivals are online. So instead of filling a cinema screening at a festival where you'll get like 250 to 300 people, the nice thing is that you know with these online festivals, actually more people can watch it. I mean, Fry Barry just played at the start of this month at Fantaspo, and we had about 3,400 or just under 4,000 people watch the film. So in a way, I think it's kind of like a blessing in disguise that more people can actually watch this movie if it hits their country, which is great for for the festival run.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really glad that you had such a really great turnout with the online. And you know what? We actually kind of somewhat talked about that recently on the show as well, of how streaming services can be a bit of a pro for indie directors and just the indie scene in general. It's somewhat different, but still, I think it kind of like still adds in just a little bit to the because just the availability and the advantages that online capabilities can have with online festivals. I mean, that's awesome because I didn't even know that they were doing that, and so I'm really glad they shared that here. We'll also have all your links and all those links down below in the episode notes or in the description if everybody whoever's listening to us on YouTube also. Ryan, thank you for coming on and hanging out with me and talking about
No
Friedberry.
worries, man.
Seriously, this was
Absolute,
awesome.
absolute pleasure.
Well, you heard of Ghouls, Gals, Creeps, Mutants, and like. Check out Friedberry. Please go check it out at either of these online festivals. We'll have the links below. Make sure you follow Ryan as well and follow Friedberry. Ryan, again, thank you so much for coming on here and for hanging out with me. Ghouls, Gals, Creeps, and Mutants. We will talk about horror with you next time.